It's the weekly feed. I'm Kyle Meredith. I've got Tunde. I've got Jaleel from TV on the radio with a new record called Seeds, and welcome.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
How are you guys? We'll point out here in Louisville, KY, and which, Jaleel, you have quite the history in.
Got some ties. Yeah.
You've been here, but did some living here and everything. But you guys are so known for New York at this point. It's like, is everybody from New York? Is anybody from New York?
I don't think anybody's
I
from
met one
New
guy
York.
from New York.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Generally,
Yeah.
yes. Several people.
But you identify, like even your personal selves, like that's your
That's
identity.
where I grew
now.
up, yeah.
Yeah.
I moved from Pittsburgh when I was 18 and was in New York for 22 years. I just moved
Oh, where'd you move
to
to?
Los Angeles.
Yeah, what's your home address?
666. 665.
So you did the New York to
Neighborhood
LA
East.
jump, like that's
Yeah.
like if you're gonna do the jump, that's the jump.
Sell out.
Yeah, that's fine. Gladly, happily.
I have another friend from New York who just did the same thing too. and
Well, was
he
that,
visited.
did that friend,
Yeah.
did he
and
visit 2 winters ago from New York?
Exactly.
It's kind of like that. Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
Because you
No, I
visit
was
and you're
done
like,
with
you know
it.
what?
Yeah,
I just realized, I was like, this is not going to get better.
Yeah.
it's not, and it hasn't. I'm just so
It
jealous
hasn't.
that you left and I didn't leave.
No, man, it's both sides.
We have a thing called free will.
Yeah, you
It's
know,
true, but
you
it's
think.
like, it's unfortunately the tired cliche freeze or fry is becoming
Yeah.
more of a reality for everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, New York's cold. It's just like, but it's about to get really Mad Max in California because there's no more water.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
Well, I'll kind of be interested to see if what this does to you and yourself, because like I said, I mean, TV on the Radio is a band that's so known for being New York. You came out of the scene explosion and everything else, and now here you are with a new sunny disposition that I'm sure we're going to be.
So sunny. You have no idea.
Hearing that
You
all
have
over
no
your
idea
records.
how happy I am.
I am so impressed by this record. It is so good. I don't think anyone was surprised in that. I know a lot of people were surprised, when everything happened with the last record, that it was like, when this one came back around, like, I think we were all surprised at hearing how close you guys were to saying, we're not going to do this anymore. This isn't going to be us anymore. It's like, you really never gave that impression in public, but suddenly you just were absent for a little bit
Yeah.
longer than was comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, people, if you love doing something, you've done it for a long time straight, and you feel like, it's time to take a break or something. Also, people hear the word hiatus and they're just like, they broke up.
Oh, right,
And it's kind of like, no, they went home after work and tried to live a life, and
I feel like bands are getting
break.
smarter about that, though, because it used to be in the 60s and 70s and probably even up to the 90s, like when you weren't doing anything, you had to break up. Like, we have to break up, but then we got back together
Yeah,
2 years
exactly.
later.
But I
You
don't
can
see
do
why
whatever.
I never understood why they had to break up.
Why
just
do
need- I mean,
divorced
just
parents have to
say-
scream at each other?
Yeah,
You
you
don't
know,
have
it's
to.
also like, just
It's
take
separate
a break.
bedrooms, man. It's cool. You can do that.
Take a break, like hang
Yeah.
out. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, like nothing with us is that big of a deal. I think we just, you're on the road for 7 years and then you get back, especially coming back to New York, speaking in New York, and realizing like, oh, this isn't the place I grew up in.
Right.
Part 2, I haven't even, I've seen it change in huge jump cuts. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, and you just feel like you missed it. You missed like.
I hear a lot of people
7
talk about
years.
that, too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in Louisville, things don't move at, glacial pace, but they move much slower, but then you hear about that, and that's kind of...
But our particular lifestyle made it even more surreal because it's saying we're
Yeah.
gone for at least half the year.
Right.
So you kind of you just don't really get to digest the change. It happens in these
completely,
flashes, and you're gone 6 months. Like, oh, wasn't there?
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't I used to live there?
Couldn't
What
I
happened to
walk-
my building? Oh,
Couldn't I
man.
walk down here and not feel disgusted
Yeah.
at one point?
Well, that's
Like,
different. It's kind of, I do see it as a visitor walking around, like, what do I want to do today? And it just becomes like, the question is, where do I want to shop today?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's
our
the
old
biggest
studio.
mall in the country.
And New York,
it's-
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our old studio, Dave's studio, Stay Gold.
Yeah.
We used to joke about this all the time. We used to say, like one day this place is going to be an H&M. We joke about it a lot, and it's a J. Crew now.
Missed it by that
Yeah,
much.
Yeah.
so we were off by a country.
Well, I know you all in that downtime also. I mean, I feel like we could do an interview not about TV on the radio because you all are involved with so many things outside of it. So when you're in that hiatus or whatever it is, acting career, other bands, when does it become, like, how important is TV on the radio in your life at this point?
It's a constant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's-
it was never the
yeah.
thing of like like Damon Albarn says, "Oh, fine, we'll put Blur back together," or something like that. You know, it's
No,
like this
plus
is still
how long was Blur broken up for?
longer than the few years that you
That's
guys
what I
did put out a
mean. It's
record.
like if somebody, I feel like everything is so quick now. It's like if somebody just goes away for a little while,
Yeah.
now it's suddenly like, what happened to them? We haven't heard from them in a while, and it's like, I feel like, yeah, exactly, 3 years, like 7 years, I'd be like, they're done. And
Right.
they didn't say anything.
They're not gonna do it.
Yeah, but I don't
guess
know.
it's
It's
with
different for
bands,
me. I
But
feel like
is it like mean to like break up and not tell anybody? 'Cause, like, I mean, I just realized that. Like,
I've had friends who do that all the
Yeah.
time. You just mention it. Are you guys still going out?
no.
No, it's been.
And it's,
It's-
none of your business. It's
But
our
also,
business.
I feel like if you're gonna break up, you know, like you can say, "We've broken up." Sometimes you don't know that you're breaking up
Right.
when you take a break. You know.
Well, I guess my thing is like when most bands get together, they're young, and it's we're gonna bleed for this band, and then life happens. You grow up, you grow older, you know, you have other interests, and either you're just tied to this thing, you know, or I mean, there's a lot of scenarios, I guess, and that's what I get to. You know, when a band's been a band for more than 10 years, I always start to wonder. It's like I wonder how important that band is in their life on a day-to-day at that point. And I'm sure it's different for every band and everything. But you know, when it comes to TV on the radio, it's like any of you could walk away from this and still be fine in your life. You know, and by the
But I
way,
feel
it's
like
great
that's
for us
what I
fans
mean.
that you haven't. Don't get me wrong.
No,
but-
no. I mean, but that's what I mean when I say it's a constant. You know, it's kind of we do. I mean, this sounds so bad. We had friends who were in a band that said, "We do what we want when we feel like it." And while I always was kind of like, I'm not gonna say you're my friend, and I'm not gonna say anything about how that's affected your life or your attitude towards things, but
Right.
it's kind of that, not in a flippant way at all, but I feel like the way that I mean, we've been friends like way before we were in a band. We were all friends. We were all miraculously still friends, you know, and it's kind of something that we can, when it feels good to do it, we take advantage of that time
And you go for it.
and we go for it. Yeah, and it's I feel like that's always, you know, to the benefit. You don't want to be confused about why you're doing something and then go in and try to piece it together out of obligation, which is, you
That's it.
know.
You guys aren't forced to make that record every year, every 2 years or whatever. You,
No.
you don't have to go in and chisel it out, which usually is, I would
Hope
say,
someone
makes
from
for
the
bad
labels
art.
watching this interview.
I hope so too.
What's
They're
that?
just like,
I hope
yeah,
someone from the
someone
labels
from
watching this
label,
interview,
yeah.
like, you're not obligated? No, we do what we want to do.
We do what we wanna do.
We do what we want to do.
Yeah.
Does it come around though where you're you have to answer for this stuff though? Do you feel like that takes away from the music at some point? Like you made this great record, here's this great record, but we have to talk about our personal lives, what you know,
Oh,
the sad
well.
things and,
Yeah.
all of
We
this.
don't.
and-
Usually, I mean, that's been surprisingly like civilized to navigate. You know, and most
Yeah.
people don't kind of force that, and it's like, and people are in general
People
pretty
definitely-
respectful of that. You
yeah.
know, and don't like push us
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that, which I'm really appreciative of actually, because it's, you know,
Yeah.
anyway.
But that's what it is. Personal lives get so involved with art.
Yeah.
In music. I
Right.
mean, no one's really
Yeah.
asking the painters a lot, you know. Oh, is that a broken up relationship? Is that, you know,
Yeah.
and they have to keep talking about it. I mean, it is such a
Yeah.
different beast in music to have to.
It's definitely. I mean, it's more out front. You know, if you're involved in a musical experience, you're literally surrounded by what you assume is this person's life and
Yeah.
feeling and emotion, or something they're telling you, and it's. You want to know more. Like I never wanted to know
Really?
anything about the bands that I loved.
Well, for me, it's like, and I'll actually lead this into another question. When I listen to the record, I start to wonder, like, is this a relationship record? You know, because I'm a fan. I'm listening to it and everything. It's like, you know, TV on the radio has kind of been known for political songs here and there in the past. It seems like there's less of that going on in this record, and it's a bit more of a relationship record. You know, and is that the case? And here I am asking you about your personal lives. You know,
Yeah.
it's-
Well, I mean, to get in. I mean.
you like that contradiction?
well
That's
done.
thank you.
Yeah. I feel like it can be a relationship record. I mean, I know that while this whole thing was happening, I had a pretty nasty breakup. You know, I was actually, like in something with someone pretty deep and thought it would go a certain way, and
it
did
did
not. It didn't at all. You know, and like it was like I'm going to be with this person the rest of my life, and it didn't work out. So, you know, I guess funneling that into the record helped me very much.
Yeah.
The other thing is everything I just told you is completely untrue, which should tell you something about going into someone's personal life. You know, like
Is
it's
that-
always,
yeah, right.
it's always what I think whenever I'm just like, you're delving for something that is completely, not delving, but it's like, it could be anything, you know? And
Sure,
there's some
sure.
people whose job is to, you know, like just to broadcast their personal life,
Yeah.
you know, 24/7.
Miley
And it's-
Cyrus on Instagram.
yeah, or just like reality TV, period. You know,
yeah.
it's an industry of just kind of like, this is me. And it's like, if that's such a, like, I don't know, I get tripped out about that stuff. It's like, if being in a program is part of your life that you're watching and people are watching, it's like, what's left for you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm alone in that sentiment, I know, from going on Instagram. I know.
I do think it's one of my favorite points of any interview whatsoever when
Yeah.
someone says every bit of that was untrue.
Yeah.
You leave it hanging on the edge right there. But that is, you have fans and they are looking into every word and everything, and you do have, I guess you have to, I mean, you do whatever you want, whenever you want, and you make the
Yeah.
choice to say, do I want them to just take what they want from it, or do I want to say, no, that's what this is, and that's, I mean, you can be either
always-
kind of artist.
I always, when I think about what's, I mean, I don't know,
Not good.
when I think about what's moved me and affected me, it's usually the things that have left a space for me, you know, inside of them, where I'm not being, nothing's being dictated to me as far as, you know, what what needs to happen. Oh, sorry, I thought that was.
You're fine.
Yeah, where I could make it up for myself, or it's a soundtrack to something I'm going through, or, you know, I can listen to it while I'm painting or doing anything else, and like my attachment to that work involves their music, you know.
And it's not their story playing out. Like, after I
Yeah.
read Suze Rotolo's book on
Yeah.
Free Will and Bob Dylan, you suddenly know that every song is about
Yeah,
that right there.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
just when it gets too specific, you know, to me it loses some
I
kind of
don't-
magic when it's too
Sure.
specific, you know.
Yeah.
But you do want to relate, I don't know, the general feeling. Maybe you want to relate to a specific feeling without being specific in identifying
Sure,
your
yeah, good
exact
point to it.
incident. You know, just to me, it usually takes away from the music when I can't take ownership of it from the audience perspective. You know, I'm like, I need, save a little bit for me. I need to dream into this too.
Right.
Like, you know, you can't have it all. Also, I'm just listening to you like whine, and like it's all. You know, so.
You
There
could also
was
be
this-
the kind of person who just doesn't listen to lyrics at all, and it's rhythm and melody, and you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about
Which
it.
Completely.
more
That's a
on
lot
that,
of
more on that
people.
side.
Right.
Yeah, and a
of
ton of
Colin,
people do.
Right, right.
Yeah, I don't know. I was in a car.
Is this a
Yeah.
true story?
This is absolutely true. Actually, I'm not going to spill it because it
it's too
makes light of another band. No, don't
Scratching
do
that story right there. It's
I'm like,
I won't
okay, like I'll be the
name- I know
filter.
now.
Yeah,
he
right.
knows. Now he wants to hear it
Yeah,
because he
take
knows
pictures
he's
of
going to hear it later. No,
yeah.
there was okay, and I mean no real harm to anybody involved in the creation of this, but there was a song in this car that was playing, and the singer was screaming, "You're gonna remember me for centuries. You're gonna remember me for centuries." As they're just thinking, I was like, beyond this being like somebody beating me in the back of the head with a baseball bat, like
Yeah.
a pink baseball bat, it's like, you're lying. No one is gonna remember you for centuries, and no one you're around is gonna be around.
I mean, we can
in that
argue
century.
Beethoven and Mozart,
Yeah.
but
I
it's,
hear-
it's
but they're not
different.
around.
Yeah,
They
it's
can't
a bit
hear
different.
it.
And judging from that incredible melody he just sang, I don't know if that's gonna say, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's got that's
But
legs
it's
for a
also-
century.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Also, people like to punch the air.
Yeah. Well, I will ask a bit more specific about the record then. I'm very excited to read that there were so many songs not on the record. Should I be excited about that? Does that make your next album easier? If you can say, man, we got all these
Probably not.
songs.
Probably
or
not.
or do they just become orphans and gone and
They may
In a
orphans
lot
that
of
get
cases.
deluxe
dressed
edition on
up
the
in
20th
like,
anniversary?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, you don't want that. It's
Orphans
just
at
all
clown
gonna
school
be,
who
yeah.
like get dressed up in different outfits, maybe. But
Yeah.
you know, they're not
But
gonna.
What a weird orphanage.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Strange. Keep that door closed. Yeah.
Does anything happen to those songs? Do you guys got any plans for what's left? I mean, is that a usual thing for you guys to write? I mean, I've read 60 plus songs. Does that happen every record where you're like, man, we have an abundance of songs and here's 12?
But I mean, that's a bit misleading because not all 60 of those get,
They're not
finished.
They're not
you
full
know,
songs. No, they're like some of them not even half, you know. The basic process is everyone brings in something, and then the ones that seem like they have a shape, or everyone just has a certain feeling for, then we just focus in on those. But we kind of rarely go back and mess with anything.
Yeah, it's kind of this
in
kind
the
of
vaults.
temporal thing. Yeah, once
In the
it's
vaults,
done,
yeah.
it's moved on.
Someone's going to find a hard drive and be sorely disappointed.
It's also a thing
Orphanage
about
where no one gets adopted.
No one gets adopted.
It's also a thing about the passion in art. It's depending on how much you worked on certain things. Like you worked on it to a point for it to never be worked on again. It's I don't know really what I'm relating that to or anything like that. But that's interesting.
There are people who
that's
stop
interesting.
paintings, and are just sort of like, I don't know what to do with
Nowhere
that.
left
Or
to go
like
in
how
the
many novels are under people's beds where they're just like, I don't know.
And
This
we
showed
usually-
me that I needed to do this other thing. All of this time
Yeah.
spent on it.
And we usually stop at a place where it's pretty good to cut your losses. I mean, that's one of the things. So if it stops here, we usually don't push the ones that aren't going to make it far enough. Or like if they don't make the record, then you're like, a few of those get done, and a lot of times those will get put on something else if they get to the point where they're almost done.
Right.
But the ones that we cut are kind of like, oh, okay, let's cut them down before I get too attached, to that child.
Yeah, it's true. It's so mean. So
That
mean.
clown child in the deep
clown
dark
child.
room of the orphanage.
Before I slap a red nose on this kid and toss him into the orphanage.
I don't know about those kids. I don't know about those kids.
Sorry, buddy.
I will wrap it up and say I'm really happy that I saw. I think it was on your Instagram, the Young Fathers, a fan of Young Fathers.
Oh, yeah,
I've become a Young Fathers in the
humongous.
past few months. And it is weird
great.
because when I first heard the song Shame off the new record, and I went, oh yeah, it's TV on the radio.
that's
Somebody's
funny.
doing that. And that's what I heard. And then I
Yeah.
go back and it's cool. I love what they're doing. They're doing
Yeah.
something, and they remind me of you guys. And I'm not talking about sound because I think that's the only song that really does that. But they're having to answer for all the same questions that you guys had to answer for coming in
Yeah.
about genre and
Yeah, I'm
what
sure.
are you and all of this. And
Which is very depressing to me in
Yeah.
a way,
right.
because I don't see how. I feel like the reason. I feel like if you bring in everything, it's gonna sound like something,
Right.
Like
Right.
it's more like your handwriting than anything else. You're not trying to just say like, okay, I'm gonna use this font. It's like I'm gonna put down. Everything I put down is gonna have my my waiver to it, and people aren't. It's not.
What's the whole thing about putting everything in the box? Let's put it in the box neatly.
Yeah.
Let's categorize this, and let's.
I don't know, and I guess it's. Yeah.
But
guess-
I mean, you guys have you're past it. We know what TV on the radio is now, which is, this weird, awesome band that.
And there is, I mean, when I go back, that doesn't happen that often when I listen to like our catalog of stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, there's a really obvious consistency, in the sound that's like, I don't know, it just seems more cohesive,
Yeah.
like in its identity than people seem to think right out the box. But no, it never bothered
and
me
it's
so much.
at the base of it, a lot of it is just rock music.
Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
right.
Like
and that's
it's
I think
not-
that's what their thing is too. It's like they have a
Yeah.
sticker on the front of their album that says "File under Rock and
Well,
Pop."
you know
Yeah.
what? I mean, it's
Yeah.
honestly like I've seen their record under hip hop.
Hip hop, yeah, because
Which
everyone's
is-
Scottish hip hop trio or whatever, and it's like, what do you find hip hop on this record?
It's not,
You know?
and I understand the difficulties, but it's really, I mean,
Yeah.
so many people say don't call it anything. It's like, yeah, but then you're next to all sorts of nonsense. As
It's a
well.
niche world.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we're in.
But they're fantastic.
Yeah, they are fantastic, and you guys are fantastic, and the new record is fantastic.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for stopping by here. It was a
Absolutely.
pleasure talking to you.
Thanks.
Good to talk
Season's
to you.
out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's the Weekly Feed. Ta-da!